Hello, welcome back to Human to Human. I am on day 1 of my period. I'm comfy, I am not wearing a bra, and it is like a contemplative, reflective time in my cycle, as for many of us. So let's do some reflecting together. Hello and welcome to Human. My name is Jessica Jane, and I am so excited to be sitting here this morning and recording. I don't know if you know this, but I have not posted an episode since January, and it is April 30th when I am recording this. So it feels very good to be sitting back in the podcast chair with my podcast microphone and my headphones on and just getting back to it. I've been doing Human to Human for a very long time, and so whenever I go through seasons when I don't post, it feels strange. But also, there's always a reason, and the reason today and in this season of my life was that I was going through so much change that I didn't quite have the words and the thoughts and the understanding and the presence yet to articulate. Oftentimes, when we go through change, we're just like in it and we're in the thick and we're just trying to get by. Sometimes we're just in survival mode. And so it's like, how am I supposed to communicate this effectively? And trust me, I have tried. I've recorded episodes, listened back, and been like, shut up, you crazy bitch. We're not going to do that today. I am already putting myself in the mindset of like, I know what I want to chat about today. I'm going to feel good when I edit this back. And this is starting a new season of Human to Human. So, before we get into it, I was listening to a podcast called Soul Gum. It's incredible. And she really just takes a moment to advocate for herself and her podcast. And I would like to do that. If you're a longtime listener or if you're new to this and you're just, tuning into Human to Human for the first time, it means so much to have you here. I am determined to post episodes more regularly and continue to pursue my dreams and have this become something 10 times bigger than what it is right now. I was sitting here before I started visualizing having a podcast producer with me in the studio, helping me just create great content, helping me come up with new ideas so that it's not a one-woman show, because it has been that for the past 5 years. And so in order to grow the show, it does not happen through an algorithm like social media. It happens through word of mouth. It happens through sharing it with a friend, sharing it with a loved one, and it happens through community. So if you enjoy this episode, or if you enjoy Human to Human, or you just are vibing with the energy we're already doing 3 minutes in here, please share this with a friend. It would mean so much. And I know I haven't posted for a while, so if you subscribe to the show, it's a great way to be notified when I post new episodes, because I don't know, I'm keeping you on your toes here. So thank you for listening to that for a quick moment, and let's get into it. Do we want to take a deep breath to get grounded? Honestly, why the fuck not? I forget that I do this now as a job. I facilitate us taking deep breaths. So let's roll those shoulders back wherever you are. Don't close your eyes if you're driving or walking. Let's just take a deep breath in and sigh it out. I'm already sweaty and I'm excited. So the first thing I want to talk about is, in this big life transition I've been experiencing, I have honestly felt happier than I ever have in a while. And that came with a lot of uncomfortable feelings. It came with guilt. It came with uncertainty. It came with feeling like, am I allowed to feel like this? Like, genuinely, I would have so many moments where I would feel so happy and then be like, is this okay? Is something about to go wrong? And I think that's a normal reaction if you've been through a hard season and if you're coming out of a hard season. So a little bit of backstory: I was living in downtown Toronto for the past year. I was very much in the hustle and bustle of the city. I was sharing an apartment with a good friend of mine, and I was working from home in marketing, which I've been doing since 2020. And it was hard to really grasp what it was that was affecting this hard season. There were so many things. I was living in a new environment that was very, very stimulating, and I was isolated in my bedroom working a lot, and just going through a lot of internal shifts. And within the past 3 months, I've basically flipped everything upside down. I have moved to the suburbs. I've moved back in with my parents. If you're an OG Human to Human listener, you know I have been in and out of my parents' home so many times in the past 5 years. I think 4 times. And so even that decision to move back home with them was a weird one. I think there was a lot of assumptions of people around me that it's like going to be the same thing it's been every time, and like eventually you're not going to be happy and all this stuff. I am grateful to share that it is not the same as it was the other times. I have my own basement apartment here. Before, I was like sharing space with my family, cooking with my parents around. They both work from home, so they're here all the time. So we're all here all the time. This time, I use a side door entrance. I have my own bathroom. I have my own little mini kitchen. I have my own space to just exist, living room, a place to eat, my bedroom, obviously. And so I feel in ways like I live alone, which is something I've literally never done before. But it's also a sleigh because I don't live alone. They're literally upstairs. So if I need anything, if I'm feeling lonely, I have the support right there of my parents, which I'm so grateful for. So that's one transition. Now I live in the suburbs again, and I am obsessed with the quiet and peacefulness of it. I can go outside, I hear birds chirping all the time. Right before I started recording this, I was laying outside in my backyard in a beautiful lounger in the sun, finishing a great novel I was reading. And it's funny because I think I had a lot of resistance to recording a podcast episode for a while because I felt guilty sharing this joy, which sounds wild now that I'm saying it out loud, but I actually felt like, who am I to just go on a podcast and just like talk about how fucking happy I am? And don't get me wrong, I have my hard days. I have my moods fluctuate. I have moments where I'm like, what is happening? And of course I struggle. But I also can say overall, my happiness levels are much higher than they were before. And it's funny to talk about my lounger that I'm laying in my backyard, because I actually got that for my balcony for my apartment. And now that I'm seeing it in grass in a wide open backyard space, I'm like, that bitch was so out of place in my downtown Toronto condo. And can we like take a moment? I feel like that's a metaphor. I felt out of place in my downtown Toronto condo. And if you don't know, I have lived in Toronto before, 2 other times. I went to university in Toronto. I loved living in Toronto when I was 18 years old. It was like hot girl vibes. First time I ever lived without my parents. I'm strutting down the street. But this was pre-COVID. This was pre-healing. This was pre-growth. This was like party era single Jess. She is going buck wild, puking because she's getting too drunk often. All the things. So I'm a very different human than I was then. And so living in Toronto was just chaotic, chaotic, chaotic. My poor brain was on overdrive. So that first big change is just my environment and being able to cook in a kitchen alone and just leave a mess there when I want to leave a mess there. It feels so good. And I want to just for a second acknowledge that there has been shame involved in saying that I'm moving home with my parents again. There's been embarrassment, there's been fear of what people think. But at the end of the day, this is a huge theme for me in this big life change I've been through is nobody knows what it feels like to be inside of my body. So even though I'm making decisions that I'm scared of what people will think and if they'll judge me, at the end of the day, it actually should not trump the fact that if my body feels unsafe or uncomfortable, then I need to make the decision for myself no matter what anyone else thinks. And that has been just a through line for everything. I'll say that again. Nobody else knows what it feels like to be inside of my body. So nobody else is getting the signals of like, this is wrong, this isn't right. My gut instinct is telling me that something's off. And so from the outside, a lot of people might not understand what I'm doing or the decisions I'm making. But if I'm happy, that is what matters. If I feel safer now, if my body feels like it can properly rest now, oh, fuck what other people think. At least try to ignore it compared to how much better you feel inside your body. And that leads me to my second big lifestyle change. This feels actually even bigger than moving in with my parents. This is like a career change. And yeah, I'm 24. I feel like I'm young in the span of like career. I have a long road ahead of me, which I'm pumped about. I have so many aspirations that we are going to get into as well. But I have been basically working since I was 18 in marketing. So even while I was in university, I always had a part-time job, and it felt like a big girl part-time job. Like I was in a personal we're getting excited. I was a personal assistant for a YouTuber. I ran her TikTok for her. It was like such a good experience and so much knowledge came from that. I was a marketing manager for a therapy practice. I I did quite a few things, and most of these things were working from home 95% of the time on my computer, creating social media content, creating podcast episodes for other people, doing a lot of solo marketing work wherever I lived from home on my computer. And I feel like I identified with this role so strongly. Like, I'm a marketing girl. This is what I do. Like, I feel like I did it for long enough, and especially working on human to human, this is what actually launched me into the marketing world because I taught myself how to podcast. I taught myself how to edit videos. I taught myself how to like show up on social media. And then because of that, I got these different jobs in these marketing fields. And so, and I still love those things. I still love those things. So I felt like I really identified with it. And in the past 3 months, it sort of happened where like my body was telling me something wasn't right, but then also like the decision got made from both parties where I was working 2 jobs, one at Othership in person and then a marketing job as well. And it just so happened that doing both was insane. It was so busy and one of them was just like it wasn't the right time, maybe it wasn't the right fit. That's okay. And now I no longer work in marketing. I no longer work from home. And I had so much fear and anxiety of like what are people going to think and like I don't know, I'm so scared to make this change, but in my body I could tell it was right. And it's so crazy. I had to keep telling myself, Jess, you have another job. Like you're not unemployed now. If you were unemployed, sure, it would be scarier because then like my grandma would be like, what the fuck you doing? My parents would be like, okay, chip chop. Like I know that, you're not paying Toronto rent anymore, but like what are you doing with your life? I wasn't experiencing that. And yet I still felt just so paralyzed in fear of what people would think. And as time has evolved, I'm so grateful. My family actually has come to Othership. And let me explain what Othership is in case you are someone who doesn't live in Toronto, doesn't know what it is. It is a sauna and cold plunge, like immersive experience. Not only is it just like kind of like a spa where you can like go do that type of hot cold therapy, but we incorporate a lot of other modalities into it. So like I teach a class in a sauna. So we do 20 minutes in the sauna. We do ice bath rounds. So we're doing cold plunges. I'm guiding us through it. And then we go back into the sauna to do an integration portion, do a bit of a meditation. And then, everyone can free flow through the space. And it's a very unique kind of thing that's funny and weird and hard to explain, but it's a place that I always loved visiting. My boyfriend and I started going there a couple years ago. Couple months before 2024 ended, I felt the call again because I'd felt it many times of like, I think I want to work here. Like, I think I want to be a guide here. And it all worked out in such a beautiful way. And I was training while I was living downtown, which was incredible because everything was so convenient. I needed to go in so often, but for short periods of time. And so I'm so grateful. Now my commute is like an hour. I always burp midway through an episode. I'm going to cut that burp out, but I just want you to know I just had like a ferocious burp. I think it's because I'm sucking in so much air when I'm talking. But it was great when I was living downtown. I was in training. Everything just like came together so harmoniously. And I am like igniting this fire in me that I had when I was growing up and I was performing and I did musical theater on stage. And I'm getting to do that now as an adult, but it's paired with my obsession with wellness and water and the fact that it just resets my nervous system and I can just go to a cold plunge anytime I'm feeling activated or stressed while I'm working. And I couldn't have even imagined a job like this for myself. It's the kind of thing that you're like, something like this couldn't even exist. And it does. And so what I'm trying to say about this though is that it's hard to explain. And so if this is my only job, it's scary to tell people at like a family gathering, when your fucking uncle's like, "What are you doing with your life?" And you're like, "Well, I work in a sauna." Like, it's just such a weird thing to explain. So I didn't know how my parents would feel about it. I didn't know how people close to me would feel about it. I didn't know how my brother would feel about it. But I'm so fucking grateful they came, and they all took one of my classes, and then we all went and took another guide's class, and it was like this like family affair. I never thought my dad would come. And he was like, "This is such a great place. Like, everyone seems so wonderful and nice and genuine, and it's a great community, and like they all understand." And that doesn't mean I don't get questions of like, "Do you see yourself there in a year from now?" My dad asked me that the other day after a really long shift, and I was really tired, and I looked at him and I was like, "I don't want to talk about it." And it's not because I don't want to talk about my future, but it's like that kind of question coming from a dad is just so loaded. And it's wild cuz sitting here I'm realizing I said I don't want to talk about it cuz I didn't have the mental capacity to do the song and dance in my brain of what type of answer is he looking for, and how can I give a response to that question that will satisfy whatever fear he has coming up, or whatever question or pondering he has, that will just like squash the conversation. And I don't know if that makes complete sense when I'm saying that, but it feels like this like weird reverse psychology thing that is actually rooted in people pleasing. Now that I'm like saying all of this out loud, because all of this happened in my mind very quickly and I haven't like fully digested it. But truly, what I think I didn't have the emotional capacity for was trying to figure out why he was asking and how I could satisfy him so we could move on. When I can hear my therapist speaking in my mind saying, "Your actions, like, it's not your problem if they make people uncomfortable or not." And a little detour, I remember talking to her about drinking and how I don't want to drink. And she was like, "What's your ideal scenario?" And I'm like, "Everyone thinks I'm drinking in social settings, but I'm not." And she was like, "That is such a crazy people pleasing thing to say. That your action, you're so scared of your actions making other people uncomfortable." I feel like I'm still unpacking that one. She said that like 6 months ago. um so I think that's like a really big takeaway. I don't think I have anything else to say about that, but like it's not our job to make ourselves smaller to make people feel comfortable. And even while I teach at Othership, I think I have moments where I'm like looking at faces being like, "Is this resonating? Are people liking this?" And I think that's a normal thing. I want to make sure, the energy and the vibe I'm creating is landing. And if it's not, I can adjust. But I think we have to pull back sometimes and be like, okay, there's appropriate situations to do that in. And then there's other situations where it's like, "Yeah, dad." I'm actually really proud of my response that I was like, "Yeah, dad, I don't want to talk about this right now. Like, I do not have the capacity to talk about my future with you right now." And that question coming from a dad, I don't even think he probably meant it in all these loaded ways, but I'm just interpreting it as this is like, I don't know, like is there a wrong answer? Like, do you think it's like silly and crazy for me to want to see myself long term doing this job that's very unique? Who knows? Anyway, let's move on from this tangent. I don't know where it's going, but hopefully something of that landed for you, because I think we all deal with that in social situations at least. So, going back to this first takeaway of I'm allowed to be happy. It came with some interesting other emotions too, which one of them is when I was working from home, I was so isolated. I have such a lack of community. I was just by myself all the time, going through some of these work struggles, really just in my lonesome. Versus now, when I go into work and I clock in and I clock out, first of all, I just burped again. Second of all, I oh my gosh, when I show up at work, honestly, half the time I'm in a bad mood. And as soon as I start talking to people, I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel so much better. I'm so much happier. I feel a part of something. I don't feel like I'm so alone." And it's just been this crazy mindset shift of like, wow, I have been so lonely. I have been so isolated for so long, and I forgot how much joy you can actually get from being surrounded by people, but not just people, like-minded individuals, people who are into similar things to you, people you have something, at least one thing in common with, which at work for me, it's hot cold. It's the hot cold therapy. It's loving saunas, loving cold plunges. And yeah, man, like I don't want to go on a COVID thing, but like we're still kind of recovering from that shit. And we like being isolated and working from home became so normal. I thought that was just how my life was going to play out, is that I was always going to be this work from home chick. And now that I'm working in person, I'm like, whoa, like I had to relearn how to like pack myself lunches and like, make sure I had a bag to put all my things in because I'm commuting all the time, and make sure I'm giving myself enough time to leave the house, and making sure I have everything I need. But then also like I have never experienced getting to leave work at work for the most part. I worked at a pharmacy for 5 years when I was in high school, and that is the closest thing I can compare this to. And that was literally a front cashier job. And so getting to have separation between my personal life and my work life is incredible. And it's directly impacted the pace at which I exist. So I was a rushy rusherson, especially living in the city. You're walking down the street and it's like, and I was like, literally all the time. Like my body was unwell. Let's just take a deep breath to reset that. I can like activate my nervous system just thinking about it. But now, what the fuck was I saying? My nervous system. Oh, my pace of life. Yeah. So now it's like, first of all, the style of the job is like, we're all vibing. We're all here to have a good time. I do try to catch myself because I'll like be running around and I'm like, slow down, chill out. But now my time off is my time off. My time when I'm not working, I'm actually not working. Before this, I would work from home and maybe I'd have a gym membership and I'd go to the gym in the middle of the day, but then I'd be like rushing through everything because I have to come back home because I have all these things on my to-do list. Because that's the nature of working from home, especially having so little support and management. Multiple jobs I've been in, the support from the upper management is like so little, and that's okay. Like a lot of people thrive off of that. That's not a bad thing if you are self-sufficient and can get shit done and you like not having a ton of structure. But I think also as humans, we thrive off structure. So for me, having no structure made me feel like I'm going haywire, and then I'd feel like guilty for going to a workout class in the middle of the day, but I was like, but I have nothing planned in my day, so I need something to break it up and make me take a break, because I would like eat my lunch quickly, go back to my laptop. It was really hard, and it was like I felt like everything was just like a rush to get the next thing off my to-do list. And now it's like, oh my gosh, when I first started working at Othership and just only working there, I was like, I'm never touching my laptop. This is insane. My laptop has been sitting on the couch for 4 days and I haven't touched it. Like that was unheard of for me. My whole life existed on my computer. And so that feels so cool to be able to transition and be like, I have guilt coming up right now. I have fear coming up, and I'm just going to acknowledge it right here in this moment that I'm like, I feel like I'm bragging. I feel like I'm just sitting here being like, my life is so awesome. I'm going to reset and we're still going to keep going because I hope there's things to take away from this and not just me being like, my life is the best, because I still struggle. I just want to reiterate that. I still struggle. I still feel sad. I still cry. I still have things I'm navigating, as we all do. Okay. But I've gone through big change and I never knew that there could be another path. And that's another thing I wanted to really get into was everything is just a season in life. Everything is just a season in life, and sometimes like we feel like we're in a season that's going to go on forever. And when I was living in my apartment, there came a point in my lease where I knew I didn't want to stay longer, and I knew I was going to leave after the year lease was up. And so it felt like my lease was never going to end. And when I moved home and it sunk in that time of my life was over, I didn't know what to do with myself, because I was like, I didn't think that season would ever end. And I struggled so much in those last 4 months because I was working 2 jobs. I was so overwhelmed with the city noise, and my acne on my face was insane. Like I had never struggled with acne the way I did in those last few months. And I'm grateful I'm even talking about it in the past tense because it has gotten so much better this past month especially. And we don't know sometimes in those moments that it's going to end or the season's going to be over because it feels so all consuming. And yet I would not take back that hard season because I still had beautiful moments. I miss like seeing my roommate as often as I did. And there's so many wonderful things that happened in that season of my life. And also, I don't think I would be so happy right now if I didn't go through those hard times because I wouldn't know what I didn't want unless I went through it. And so, like, my biggest thing I want to say here is to experiment. To, yeah, sometimes go through a crazy, hard, busy season of life where you're working 2 jobs and everything's so busy. But if you listen back to that January episode I recorded, I'm pretty sure I said that I know in my gut this is just a season and I cannot do this forever. And I didn't know when it would end, but I knew in my gut it was going to end, whether it was in a month or I thought it was going to be more in like 6 months. But it ended sooner than I expected that season of my life. And I'm grateful because now I can compare and contrast and be like, I thought working from home was going to be my story forever. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I do shift work and I am in love with it. I am obsessed with it. And you know what? In a year, maybe I won't like it anymore. But that's why I get annoyed when my dad asks me that kind of question because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel in 6 months. I don't know how I'm going to feel in a year. But right now, I'm so fucking happy. And can that be enough? Can that be enough? Can we live in right now? Can we try not to control everything that's about to unfold? Because that's future Jess's business. That is not present Jess's business. Mind your own damn business, okay? We are in April 30th of 2025, Jess, not fucking September of 2025, Jess. And I wouldn't have been able to speak on this shift if I didn't push myself to just try. I almost didn't apply to this job at Othership so many times. So many times. When I submitted my application, it was a Friday night. I was in pajamas. Again, not wearing a bra. LOL. We got some good under boob sweat going on. And I submitted a video because you need to submit videos to show off your energy. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not wearing makeup. I look like shit. But I also said to myself, in this job, you are going to be wearing a bathing suit, not wearing makeup. So that should not matter. And then I didn't hear back for like a month to 2 months. And I put it out of my mind. And I was like, you know what? That's probably not even going to happen. And then I got an email saying, are you available, evenings and weekends? And at this point, I was still working at the therapy practice and I was like overwhelmed with my workload. And I was like, no, I'm not going to respond. I don't think that's going to work for me. I have too much on my plate. And then I could not stop thinking about it. And I did a yoga class and I worked through it in my head during that entire yoga class, which, like, hot tip, do some physical exercise, do something to move your body because your body will help give your mind the answers, clearly, from that experience. And I was like, okay, no, I'm like, if anything, I could reduce my hours at the other job. And LOL, I did an entire pivot with even that job in the midst of getting the Othership job. And yeah, but it's so crazy to sit here and be like, I almost didn't even audition. And then it's wild because the moment I auditioned and I walked out, because you have to do like a mini version of a class to show if you're able to guide an entire class. I walked out of there and I was like, whoa. Like, what energy did the universe bless me with? Because that experience I just had, I was on fire. And I just felt so deeply that, like, this is going to be mine. And then even as I started training, I didn't expect to have so much fun. I didn't expect to meet so many wonderful people. I didn't expect to just feel so loved and supported and part of a community, because I have not felt like that in so long. I grew up doing musical theater at this one studio, and I think that's genuinely the last time I felt that part of a community. And now it's hilarious because I was watching my musical theater DVDs because my grandma is so cute. She recorded like our entire lives growing up as kids, and she literally got me a mini DVD player. I really want to figure out how to hook it up to my laptop and like actually take those videos and be able to use them and like, put them in reels and stuff for social media because they're so cool. But I was watching these videos of me performing with my grandma and my boyfriend and my mom and dad on Easter weekend. And I was like, I sound awful. I cannot sing. What the fuck? I actually thought I was doing such a good job. And like I think the stage presence was there, but the sound of my singing voice was not. And it's just so funny to like now be able to be performing in a way but not singing. And I'm like, no wonder, 18-year-old Jess was like, fuck musical theater. I'm never doing that again. I'm going to university for psychology. Get me out of this environment. And yeah, it's just wild. It's wild. Just life unfolds in ways we could never expect. And so trust that everything is a season and that it's so important to experiment and just try out different things and see what feels good for you and be able to figure out, like, I hate that thing. Okay, great. Let's not ever do that again. And like, I didn't expect to love this thing, but like, I'm obsessed and I want to be there all the time. Your life is yours to play around with and to have fun with and to give yourself grace too. Like, I know I love podcasting and it was really hard to decide to take a break. And yet it feels so good now to be like sitting here recording, feeling like I'm articulating things better than I have in the past couple months. And with all of this comes such a big identity shift. And I'm going to share in this last little bit here that my Instagram for the past 5 years was at Human to Human Pod, and that was the main one that I posted everything on my life on. And it started to feel in these last 6 months, even last year, that it just like wasn't fitting my identity shift that I felt like I was going through. And then that left me questioning, am I even going to podcast? Like, what is human to human if I change it and my Instagram's not Human to Human Pod anymore? Like, does that mean like I'm not going to be human to human podcaster anymore? And so I changed my Instagram to @withjessicajane. With is in there because Jessica Jane is taken. Every variation of Jessica Jane is taken. So @withjessicajane is my Instagram. And I feel so excited about that username because I feel like what I'm doing now is so much bigger than just Human to Human podcast. I am Jess and I am meeting people as Jess, and that is who I am and that's how I want people to know me. And right now I am also now working on writing a book. There's no way to like casually say that. It's such a weird, I was like, am I going to keep this a secret? But no, because there's certain things I want to manifest and I want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. And the way I want to talk about this is, it's funny, like working at Othership, I had that transition season of like moving home and needing to settle in. I also got laser eye surgery, LOL. And I was so happy at Othership that I think for a moment, I just stopped thinking about all the other dreams I have. And then I got to a point where I started to question things and be like, what am I doing? Why do I feel so directionless? I feel like life is pointless. And then my boyfriend gave me such a loving metaphorical slap across the face and all the tough love. And he was like, you have so much more to give. Othership is amazing and it's not going to be your only job, but that doesn't mean you need to go back to marketing. But like, he's like, if you put half the effort you put into all those marketing jobs, into Human to Human, into Jessica Jane, into the book, into whatever feels aligned, he's like, girl, you're going to go far. And like, shout out to the people in our lives who give us so much love and tough love, because that is what I needed to hear. And I have been writing almost every day for the past couple weeks, and I've been really dedicated to this. And so I say this because even when we land in a place where we're so happy, I think our bodies just crave challenge, and it craves the pursuit of something hard and the pursuit of something worthwhile. And I think this whole book thing is like, yeah, one day I'm going to have this like sick fucking book that I'm going to say like, go fucking buy it. But right now it's like, it's about the process. It's about the journey of writing this. And I say this because I want to manifest. And if you know anything or anyone or anywhere where I could be a part of, I would love to just like join like a writing community, whether it's like for memoir, or I think mine's more like memoir poetry vibes than like fiction. But I really want to just be able to like chat about this kind of thing with people and, you know, vibe off of the process, because it's like such a weird, crazy emotional process where you're like writing about something like really hard that you went through like 7 years ago. And then you're like, oh, why am I getting all sentimental about this random person that I haven't talked to in so long? But that's what's been happening. And it feels so good and so crazy. And it's like, well, you got to pull yourself out of that and shake it off sometimes. But yeah, I'm really, really grateful, and I'm really proud of myself for just pushing myself through so many hard things and feeling like I'm coming out on the other side. And if you're going through something really hard, I hope this can be an inspirational moment that everything's a season. It will end, and you do have the power and the control to change it. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe you're tied to a lease like I was, where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to change this right now. And I feel like in this moment, I'm meant to be here, but I know I'm going to leave soon. And so it's like, ride that out and really nurture yourself and invest in the things that will help you get through that hard season. My mom and I were laughing because my mom's my bookkeeper. She's helping me do my taxes. And she was like asking for things like that could be like tax write-offs. And so I sent her my therapy receipts. And she's so great because she'll like see all these, this is like very personal information, obviously, like what am I spending my money on, how much money I'm making. And I was like nervous to share that with her. And so she's like not commented on anything. But we were chatting once I gave her my therapy receipts. And I was like, yeah, I was going through a hard time in the last summer. And she was like, I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, woo wee, you really, she's like, I looked at your dad and I was like, I think Jess was really struggling in the summer because I spent so much money on therapy. But now it's like, I haven't seen my therapist in about 2 months. And so it's like, and I know, I love her. She's like, when you're ready, girl, if you need to chat through something, I am here. But the last time I saw her, it felt like I was like, wow, like you helped me get through that really hard season. And I'm appreciative and I'm grateful. And it was basically about allowing myself, that last session was about allowing myself to be happy and to be where I am right now and be still and do things that feel good. And so in that hard season though, if you're in it or when one comes up, because they always do, fucking invest in yourself. The things that give you relief, do it. Because right now I'm like, I'm saving money. I'm living with my parents and I'm not paying for therapy. Slay! But I'm not ashamed to say I was spending a fuck ton of money in the summer on rent and groceries and self-care and yoga and therapy and all the things that helped me get me through. And I felt really insecure about all the acne on my face. And I still feel insecure sometimes. And I'm still working through it. And it's a fucking process, man. Holy moly, motherfucking titties. So if you've made it this far, please share this with a friend or just share it on your Instagram. Add it into a little photo dump for your April recap, maybe, if it's something that you felt really inspired by. It would mean so much. Big dreams, big goals. I want to be fucking speaking on stages, doing book tours, podcast tours, having a whole studio. I am recording in a room right now in my basement that is just a disaster. There's just shit everywhere. But I'm like, I was literally looking across the room at this other desk that I have. And I was like, I'm going to have a podcast producer who is sitting there and just helping me out when I record. Because I also was realizing last night, it's really hard sometimes to go record a podcast in your bedroom when there's nobody around. Because I love that human-to-human connection. I thrive off that human-to-human connection, and it just makes my heart so fucking happy. So if you could share this with someone in your life that you love, it would mean so much to me. Or just subscribe so you don't miss when podcasts are dropped. And let me know in the comments what you enjoyed about this episode and maybe what you want to hear in future episodes, because I have lots of ideas. But it always helps to know what you want to hear, what you enjoy listening to. What was your favorite part about this episode? And I am excited to make many more. So to close off, my new Instagram is at Jessica Jane, as well as my TikTok it's at with Jessica Jane, because you are with me, I am with you, we are here, we are supporting each other. And I also teach classes at Othership. So if you live in Toronto, I teach at least once a week. I do pick up shifts quite often. Sunday at noon every other week is my consistent schedule at Yorkville, but I also do a friendship class. I did my first one a couple days ago, and that's what really pushed me to just like sit down and fucking record, because it was the entire thing was about helping to ground ourselves, to be this full expansive version of ourselves, and to connect with other people and find true belonging. And it made me so happy. We'll be running it about every 6 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. I post on my Instagram at with Jessica Jane, all about that stuff. But I also teach Feel Good Now very consistently. It's a very, very fun class. And I also am once in a while picking up shifts to teach Arctic Tundra, which is cold plunge central, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. So I would truly love so much to see you in person, to have that actual human to human moment. If you listen and you see me in person, please tell me. It makes me so happy. Introduce yourself. We can have a little hi moment. And yeah, I'm excited to post more soon, and I appreciate you. And if there's anything else that you this brought up for you, let me know. Write in the comments, send me a DM, and I love you. And go just do something for you. Something that feels good. Maybe it's a journal sesh. Maybe it just like go fucking feel the sun on your face because it's spring, baby. Okay, I'm gonna go have a shower now because I'm so sweaty and my hip flexors are tight and my toe went numb because I've been sitting crisscross applesauce. Oh my God. Okay, love you, bye.